Hello, class. My name is Gilbert Brown, and today I will be talking about the 7 ways that psychologists often measure learning. So, one way that you can measure learning as a psychologist is using tests and assessments. So, using standardized tests or to evaluate what has been learned. These assessments can be multiple choice, true or false, short answer, or essay questions. So, an example of that is just like standardized tests, when a psychologist has a patient, you give them a test to see where they are mentally when they first come in the office, so you can kind of know what you're dealing with and kind of know what situation the person may be in, or how you can help them, just to get a better feel of the patient for when they come in the office. Another one that you can use is performance tasks. So, evaluating learning by assessing the ability to perform specific tasks or skills. So, an example of that would be usually in skills trainings, a psychologist might assess how well an individual can perform at a specific task, just to see where they are, just to see how they are dealing with certain situations that the psychologist can put them in. Another one could be psychological measures. So, using brain imaging techniques and psychological measures to study neural and psychological changes associated with learning. So, an example of that would be MRI scans can be used to observe the brain activity when subjects learn a new skill, or such as like playing a musical instrument or something of that nature. So, using an MRI can help kind of go deeper in the brain. Another one would be experimental manipulations, using controlled experiments to manipulate variables and observe the effects on learning. So, an example of that would be usually an experiment might test a different teaching method to see which one leads to better retention of information among certain students. So, in that case. And then number 5, it would be longitudinal studies, measuring learning over an extended period of time to track changes in development. So, an example of that would be following a group of individuals from childhood through adulthood to study how their cognitive abilities and knowledge in specific areas evolve over time. So, tracking how somebody is from when they were a little kid to from when they were an adult, just seeing how they change throughout their life, and how their mind usually changes, and situations like that. So that's number 5. Number 6, self reports and questionnaires. So, gathering information about learning experiences and perceived changes through self reports or questionnaires. So, an example of that would be simply just be like taking a survey, or taking a questionnaire of a certain situation that somebody has been through, or they can just kind of assess their life, so the psychologist can get a better understanding of them. Number 7 would be behavioral observations. I mean, I feel like this is the most easiest. So, observing and recording changes in behavior as evidence of learning. This method involves noting how an individual's actions change in response to different stimuli or conditions. So, an example of that would be basically maybe language acquisition. Psychologists might observe how a child's vocabulary expands over time as they are exposed to new words and conversations. So, those are the 7 ways that psychologists, those are 7 ways that I've chosen that psychologists often measure learning, or yeah. So, and another topic within this discussion would be how cumulative record can be used to measure learning. So, I'm going to my notes. First, a cumulative record is a graphical representation of behavior over time, where each response or behavior is added to a running total. The graph shows the accumulation of responses with the slope indicating the rate of learning. So let me see. So going back to the initial question, it can be used to measure learning by So it can be used to measure learning by using the x-axis that represents time and the y-axis that represents a cumulative number of responses of occurrence of behavior. You can also use a steer slope on a graph that indicates a high rate of learning, while a flatter slope indicates a slow learning curve. So using cumulative records allows researchers to visually track the learning process and quantify changes in behavior over time, providing a clear indication of how quickly and effectively learning is occurring. So yeah, I mean, there was a lot to look into with these two in this discussion. So in this discussion, we've talked about 7 ways that I chose that psychologists often measure learning, and we also talked about how cumulative record can be used to measure learning. So I appreciate you guys tuning in into this discussion board, and I hope to get with you guys in the next.